Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking to my friend Angela Stevens, who is also my realtor, and she's going to be chatting with us about the do's and don'ts of buying a house.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Before we get into it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you like this content. Thanks for watching.
So tell me more about your experience.
So I run my family team, which is called the Hatch Homes Group, and I've been doing it for about 13 years now. I got into real estate during the Great Recession, so I really didn't know anything different than an extremely difficult market. And that I learned so much from, and I really try to take that experience with me to my clients today. And my parents, who started my real estate team in the 90s, so like over 25 years ago, they brought a lot of experience to me, like amazing mentors my whole life, my whole career. And then I'm in a very like large brokerage where I get to be around like very high producing brokers every single day, and that also helps me with my experience.
You're very charismatic and easy to talk to as well. So
I try, like I kind of say I was an art student. Like that's I have an art degree. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get into real estate to be a salesperson. And I not to say that it's bad if you did, but I definitely think that differentiates myself like in this like field where a lot of people are like, I want to be a salesperson, or like I always want to be down to earth and approachable, but also an expert.
Definitely.
That's my goal.
I was going through 9 different realtors, just interviewing different ones before I found you.
That's much more than the average person.
Because I had such a bad experience the first time with my realtor, I was like not going to take any chances, and I was just blown away by all the things that you're able to do.
Thank you. I mean, I bought my own homes. I had a desire very young to just like be a homeowner before I ever thought I would be in real estate. And so I do my own investment properties, and just with my background there, being in a very large brokerage with a bunch of other realtors, like that really helps. I dedicate a lot of time every week to really being an expert in my market. The market changes really kind of swiftly, so like being able to have your finger on the pulse of the market helps your buyers know what kind of offer do I have to write on this property to win.
I have a lot of friends who are interested in buying houses, but they don't know where to start. What would you say to some of those people about how to get started?
I think a lot of people want to just kind of like pick the realtor closest to them, right? Like, so if your best friend got their real estate license, you're like, oh, I want to support you. I think that's great. But I also think that if that person doesn't have a strong mentor or doesn't really have somebody that's helping them like know how to be the best, then you might want to interview. Get recommendations from your friends, kind of like what you did. Like you got like a bunch of different recommendations on people to reach out to, and so you reached out to them and you were really upfront, hey, I'm interviewing.
Now we're going to get into the do's and don'ts of buying your first house.
Okay, so my first don't is don't be afraid to get pre-approved for a loan or to talk to a realtor. Over the years, I've had a lot of people like tell me, oh, I want to I have a dream of buying a house. I'm like, great, let's talk, They're like, oh, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm like, we're talking to a realtor and talking to a lender, like, if we're good, we're not going to like hold you to the fire. So we're going to have a consultation, right? When we talked about, but we're going to get you on that plan to buy a house. This actually goes into my next don't. Don't be afraid to like go. Like, don't think that you can't buy a house just because today you have bad credit, you don't have any money, like maybe you don't have a job, but don't say that you'll never do it because you just need a plan to get there. And that's what professionals help you do, right? That also leads into don't wait too long to buy a house. Just get in, and if you're not prepared now, you can get there. Like when you're older and you want to buy your first house, you have a lot more boxes you're trying to check off. And when it's your first house, sometimes you don't have the leverage to get all those boxes checked. So then you just wait and you wait and you wait. Whereas when you're young, you're a first-time home buyer, you don't have as many boxes that you have to check, right? Like you just got to get in. You just get in. Like I know that like your first house was a bit of a nightmare. Yeah. And luckily though, like you were able to do the work you needed to do, but that first house got you to your next house, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So that's how mine is. Like my first house was 3.5% down. It was a higher interest rate, but I I didn't really have much else going on, like except I was just in school and working. So I just worked to pay my mortgage. But then I rode out a bad market and I ended up selling, like using that house to buy my first investment property. So that first house led me to my investment property. That investment property led me to the house that I'm in today. The house I'm in today led me to own other investment properties.
Which is an awesome house. Too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just got in. Just get in. Like,
Totally.
like real estate market, like right now it's different because we are going up like very, very high year over year appreciation. But even just like regular appreciation, 4% a year. Like, yes, we, like if you look at a graph, we went down during the crash, but like we're steadily up. It's a good investment. It's one of average Americans' main ways to gain wealth, get us to the next level. Our retirement, you know?
Yes.
They're going to need a place to live. And if you have your own house, it makes it a lot more affordable to live. You, like by the time 30 years, even if you stay in the same house, you will have paid off that property. So you can retire and not have a mortgage.
Totally.
Whereas if you don't do that, you're 65, so like you're paying rent. You're paying a lot of money.
Definitely.
And that's hard when if you don't have an income or you're on, Medicare or disability or whatever, I know it's hard to think really long term, like especially when we're young, but it's just important to do that. And so just do it.
Yes.
Don't sweat the small stuff, like when you're buying a house, because when you do your home inspection, you're going to get this like 40, sometimes 100-page report on everything that's wrong with the house. And I get it. It's very, very like overwhelming. You're like given this report, but I've had buyers that were terrified of repairs that were probably around $500 like total, like almost deal breakers. And I'm looking at the full report. I'm like, there's nothing else that is like terrifying here. They would almost back out, and then like come they saw it through. A few years later, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I didn't let that deter me. So being able to give that perspective, like that comes through experience.
Absolutely.
And I'm a homeowner, so I know that experience firsthand. Honestly, that brings me to the other don't waive your home inspection unless you absolutely know what you're into. Like right now in the Portland real estate market, and I hear like even a little bit in Washington, right? It's very competitive and you're trying to do everything you can to get your offer accepted. And so when we meet for a buyer consultation, I'm like breaking down all the things you can do to get your offer accepted. I never suggest waiving your inspection, something that I really protect, but buyers are doing it. So it's something that you have to kind of bring up because you have to know what you're up against. Say you were going to waive your home inspection, like all these things that like we know now from what we found as being homeowners and the inspections that we've done, that's a lot.
Yeah.
With all these waiving of the inspections, that has to be a real surefire, like you have to have this house kind of a situation. So that leads me to another don't, and that is don't think that just because it's new construction, it's not going to have maintenance issues or it's not something that you should need to worry about inspecting. I had once where the new construction, the lights were just like upside down. Like one of them was that way, one that way. And, like you walk into this beautiful bathroom and you don't think about like, let me look at measure the lights, but you do your home inspection. You're like, how did I not notice that? Like, that's crazy. I had once where the heating ducts underneath the house were not actually connected. So you're like, oh, well, glad we saw that because like we should be heating the crawl space.
Yeah.
My stepdad, he told me a story once about how he inspected a new construction and the builder was actually like, you don't need to inspect, not all builders are the same. Go down there, swimming pool. It was just 6 feet of water in the crawl space.
Oh my God.
Like horrible. And we were talking about that too earlier, just with on a side note, like drainage with new construction. So like these are types of things that you like need to know and you need to inspect, and builders they give you a warranty, so they'll fix it. So why not inspect it? Like don't skip out on I don't want to spend the $400 like when you're buying this huge investment, like do the inspection.
Yeah.
So at this point, like if you look at the millennial population, it's higher than baby boomers was, right? So if you look at a graph, like you have way more millennials than you do baby boomers. Baby boomers was a boom, right?
Right.
We're in a boom. These like millennials want to own a home. Rent's super expensive, and it's not getting you anything in the long run. It's not.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of demand for millennials to buy. So that's a huge amount of people in the market right now. And then you have the supply issue, just like where you have supply chain issue right now. Well, think about it. Back during the Great Recession, there was a lot of new construction starts, and then it just died. Like the recession killed so many builders. And then getting back into the business as a builder was very, very hard because, at least the city of Portland, things like that, it's harder to build. It's more expensive to build. We are way behind, like millions of houses behind on new construction. So if you're just looking at those like stats right there, well, we have like a serious supply and demand issue that's not just going to magically go away.
Yeah, definitely.
So, get in.
Yeah, just get in there.
Just do it.
Like when I was looking for houses, I was super young and was so nervous to start. And I know that I messed up in quite a few ways, but I still came out on top. I could have done that without that awful first step, you know? Just get started.
Just get started
Yeah.
fully. I mean, I think that's a really good example of the strength of real estate as an investment. You know, even the fact that like you felt like maybe you messed up and you still came out of it, you know. You probably have like the worst flip story I've ever heard.
Unfortunately.
I've seen a lot. Buyers can get really persuaded by pretty, you know, like, oh, this is move-in ready, you know, like it's got granite countertops or what have you. It was just painted, it looks pretty. But what's like most of those flip houses were just a few months prior disasters. So they were looking at the bottom line most of the time to flip it. So they weren't looking at like, how can I really spend the time and money to fix this problem? So that is super important to like have that experience now you have, unfortunately. To be able to look at those flips with a different eye. Like I'm like super skeptical on flips now.
Yes. Just wish I knew that it wasn't all about the white paint. You know?
No.
Yeah, there were so many issues if I actually looked deeper. Sizing, how things are placed, like where things are, how certain outlets were just like completely useless because they like just gutted the behind like without putting anything behind the
Really?
outlet.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
some weird stuff with my flip. The more ideal situation would be to do a really quality job on a house. It's not maybe it's a longer term flip because it takes a little bit of time to get to know a house and know what it needs, and then sell it and then buy a different house. Like that, I can get behind.
Yeah, I mean, I've had clients that have done that. I think it's a great investment move, actually. Like, if you don't have like a lot tying you down to one area, like buy a house that needs some work but livable. Like, fix it up, live there. You kind of like see what it really needs, and then wait that 2-year period so you don't pay capital gains on your proceeds, and then sell it. And
Boom.
then, but you have to live there, right?
Yeah.
And then keep doing that. I have a client that does that. That's his job. Like, and he's just like, you know, like living in his house, fixing it up, then goes to the next project.
Yeah.
You know? And those flips actually sell for a lot more money because he is putting like a lot more attention to detail because he lives there.
Absolutely.
I wish there were more people like that.
Yes, I know, right? Oh, well, thank you so much. This was so informative.
I love talking about this stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
But so I really appreciate you bringing it up too, and like sharing your experiences.
Absolutely.
On these things because it can really help people.
Yes, and y'all should definitely check out her social media. I love how you post different houses, like that you go see, and just even other social medias, you like repost different cool houses, and I just like love looking whenever you pop up. I'm like, yeah, I gotta click that.
Yeah, I got my Instagram making a home PDX, which I like. That's kind of like I started that because I love houses and I love architecture, and it's the art student in me as well. But that's kind of my house love blog, and then for more like market stats and stuff, my at Hatch Homes group. That's where we post our Monday market updates every single week. So
Awesome.
learn all this stuff every week.
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you all for watching.